How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Rolling Lines, an Apples and Genos production. My name is Josh Hutchinson, and I'm very excited to premiere our new and improved midweek show. It's going to look quite a bit like our old midweek show, just a little sleeker and with a little more pizzazz. Now, Blake has set the bar high in terms of implementing pop culture references into his content, and I thought we'd. Binksy, I can't read these show notes. What's wrong with these notes, man? Okay, I'll try it again. No, Blake has set the bar high and I can't do it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Bingsy, how you doing, bud?
I'm great, buddy. I'm great. I'm so stoked for the NHL season. Texas Rangers made the AL Championship Series. Like
Yeah.
I'm just amped on sports right now, and my wife is so sad that she has like zero of my attention at all times right now.
Yeah, man, your Eagles are 5-0. Like you must be living on a high right now.
I'm doing pretty good, man. Personally, I'm
That's
wonderful. Sports is in full swing. We're into hockey season. Like this, I'm amazing, dude. How are you?
that's good, man. I'm doing well. Night one went pretty well in terms of my fantasy league, so I'm pretty happy with that. The Leafs are look a little sleepy tonight, but they've woken up. They got a 3-2 lead now after stinking it up for the first half of the game against Montreal. But it's what they do. We were just talking about that. You were texting me, man. You said, man, the Leafs playing down to the Habs again. And I'm just like, it's just what they do, man. That's their MO. They just play down to the shitty teams, and the shitty teams they wanna beat the Leafs. So that's the way it goes, unfortunately. So we got some new segments here. So our first one here, I'm just gonna kind of try and introduce you to what Rolling Lines is gonna be like here. So our first segment that we're gonna go with is called PowerPlay Planner. Binksy thought up of some really nice catchy names, some nice alliteration here. So the PowerPlay Planner is where we look at the schedule for the rest of the week, as well as going into next week, just to help you identify streaming options and mostly in terms of teams that you can stream from. But we'll give you a streamer here and there. So looking at, normally we would review the last 7 days, but seeing as this is the first episode, last night was the opening night, we don't really need to talk about that. But Binksy, you had some notes about the preseason, so why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, just some overall team notes, things that popped out to me as kind of unexpected, and it's the preseason, so all of it is taken with a grain of salt, right? But I just thought some interesting finishes across the preseason, and there's different amounts of games played throughout the preseason, so these are all rate stats rather than total. Just a couple of things that I'm curious what you think about. Seattle, Washington, and Philadelphia are your top three teams in shots for percentage, which I thought was very interesting. St. Louis and Detroit are third and fourth in goals for percentage. Washington, San Jose, and Philadelphia, all top six teams in high danger chance for percentage. And St. Louis, Detroit, and Arizona, all top five in PDO. So what do you think about this? Is this just like throwaway stuff from the preseason, or does any of this stick for you? Is it important at all?
I think it's pretty much throwaway stuff, to be honest. I think that just because of the nature of the preseason, where on a night to night basis, you don't know if a team is throwing out their absolute, like, all of their minor league players or junior players or guys that are potentially not even going to make the team, or if they're rolling out um, their entire lineup, or what they think their lineup's going to look like, just with a few guys that are on the bubble here and there. So I don't really take too much stock in preseason team stats like that. But I don't know. Do you have any other notes on that though?
I mean, that's really the main line to draw is that like your bad teams are going to be throwing out their NHL caliber players, and your great teams are going to be throwing out the players that they want to see for the next few years and how they might gel with a starter here and there, right? So most of the time, most of those stats you can just throw them out. The ones that were really interesting for me were the PDO with St. Louis and Detroit and Arizona, because you're going to see a lot of those goalies as your streamer candidates. So I thought that was a little bit more interesting. But yeah, for the most part, I think it's tossable stuff, and as an extension of that, we've seen a few questions about this across the hockey discords. Really, not a lot to take stock in with preseason, right? With exception to like power play lineups, and even then, probably more about practice and your game day line tweets than anything else. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a wash, and we're gonna move on from it.
All right. So looking at the schedule for the next little bit. So New Jersey. So for the end of this week, New Jersey has a pretty nice situation. So especially if you stream Chicago Blackhawks. So Chicago had the back to back on Tuesday, Wednesday. Now New Jersey has a back to back on Thursday, Friday. Those are their only games for the rest of the week. But if you can pick up a guy from New Jersey. I know a lot of their top guys are rostered, so their streaming candidates are pretty thin, but there are a few guys here and there. Your Alexander Holtzes and I mean that's the main guy that I can think of right now. um,
Hmm.
there aren't any Friday Sunday streaming teams, which are usually teams you want to target. Everyone that plays on Thursday or Friday does not play on Sunday. So it's a little grim. There are 14 games on Saturday, so it's going to be kind of hard to fit guys in your lineup on Saturday. But if you can, there's a ton of back to backs Saturday, Sunday, and Friday, Saturday. Um, Carolina, Anaheim, Tampa Bay, and Ottawa all play on Sunday. So if you have ads left there and you need some points to finish out the week, those are the teams you want to be streaming from at the end of the week. Next week, in terms of best schedules, Detroit and Calgary both have 4 games with 3 off nights. That is by far the best schedule. A couple other notes here and there. Arizona has 4 games with 1 off night, but they start the week with a Monday, Tuesday back to back. So that is going to be really important. I think they have only one game this week. So if you can stream them for the end of the week for that one game, and then hold them for that Monday, Tuesday back to back. That's a pretty nice situation. There's a lot of streamers there on Arizona. Columbus has 3 games with 2 off nights, so that's another decent schedule. Montreal, Ottawa, New Jersey, St. Louis, Pittsburgh are your worst schedules with only 2 games. So we have chosen our player to watch, our PPP player to watch for the week, and that is, who is it, Binksy?
It's Matt Coronado. Dude is a
Yeah, buddy.
beast. Getting the
He is
most unexpected deployment. I've added him in like 3 leagues. Like, I will take it, especially at right wing. Like, that's fantastic. Currently going
absolutely.
line 2 with Kadri and Sharon Govich, which should be highly offensive on power play 1 and only 5% rostered in Yahoo leagues thus far. Like, I'm all about it, dude. Like, I was adding him and then I opened these show notes and was like, yes, okay, definitely.
Yeah, man, I mean, he's the guy, and Calgary has such a great schedule coming up. He's got the deployment. He looked great in the preseason. That's something that I do take stock in. He was one of the best players in the preseason, and I'm pretty excited about Matt Coronado. He's a really highly touted guy, probably Calgary's best prospect, but he's finally getting an opportunity here after Sutter just refused to put him in the lineup last year. So. All right, let's move on to our next segment, shift change. So this is an ad drop segment. So this is where we take a look at Yahoo. We take a look at the most added skaters over the last little bit, and also the most dropped. And then we'll give you a suggestion for an add and drop as well. Binksy, why don't you take us through the top 10 most added skaters on Yahoo right now?
So these are the top 10 most added skaters at a 50% rostership or lower. I felt like that was a good line of demarcation to care about. May drop that going forward to something a little bit lower as things started to even out. But at this point in the season, it's nice to say that. It's this point of the season, 50% or lower. So number one, the opening night MVP, Nick Paul at 12%. He's on power play one, line one, 2 goals and an assist last night. And he was getting serious burn with their top flight talent. Like it was a lot of wonder about, who it was going to be, like the next level of player for Tampa, but he looks very, very strong. Pavel Zacha at 46%, your next most added. Then Seth Jarvis at 32%. Bowen Byram at 42%. That's pretty low rostership. I expected that to be quite a bit higher. Ryan Johansson at 14%. Ryan O'Reilly at 18%. Then Rasmus Sandin at 50%. Jonathan Drouin at 29%. John Klingberg at 49%, and Connor Brown at 42%. So a lot of players, honestly, that I would have expected to have been drafted. But we know things are a little bit wonky in draft season at Yahoo. So like it wouldn't shock me if 7 to 8 out of 10 were rostered for most of your season, like in various amounts. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think that in Yahoo there's a lot of shallower leagues, so these are pretty much all of these guys are the type of guys that would be just on the outside looking in on a lot of rosters in like a 10-team league or an 8-team league. Yeah, I mean, just some of these names here. I really like Seth Jarvis. Carolina's got the 3 games this week, so that's a nice little pick up. Ryan Johansson, I'm not super high on him. Obviously he's got the deployment in Colorado, but I'm still not really convinced that he's going to be a huge fantasy asset there. Ryan O'Reilly looked really good the other night. I think that's a bit of a those are reactionary ads, but he looked really solid. I watched part of that game and he was very noticeable on offense. He was on the ice constantly. So he kind of looked like a top line center again. I mean, he kind of is that by default on that team, but I mean, he looked like he could be fairly productive this year and was generating chances on offense. So that's really nice. Jonathan Drouin, another guy I'm just not, I'll believe it when I see it. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of Colorado Avalanche on here. Love Bowen Byram. I have him in many leagues. I mentioned recently that he is one of my most drafted players of the season. I'm super high on Byram, especially at the value. And if he is on your waiver wire, absolutely you should be picking him up. So I don't really hate, I don't hate any of these names. Rasmus Sandin's a weird one. I'm not sure why he's being picked up so much, just kind of out of nowhere. Other than he's playing on the top pair 5v5 with John Carlson. So maybe people are just expecting him to get a lot of ice time, which he probably will. But until he is playing top power play, I'm not really all over Rasmus Sandin. I'm lower on him than a lot of people are. But I don't know, man. That's kind of my take on the ads. What about drops? Take us through the top 5 drops right now.
Top 5 drop skaters right now: Tanner Jeannot at 23%, Lucas Reichel at 18%, Wild Bill William Karlsson at 17%, and Andre Burakovsky at 12%, and Brant Clark at 11%.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these make a lot of sense. Tanner Jeannot playing on the 4th line in Tampa, not a good look for him right now in terms of deployment. Lucas Reichel, another situation where a really highly touted prospect. He's going to be really good, but I mean, he's playing 2nd line in Chicago, and not on the top power play, like a lot of people expected. So that's not a great situation. William Karlsson, I mean, his deployment isn't fantastic. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure why he's being dropped so much, but Andre Burakovsky, obviously Seattle had, I think a lot of people had Burakovsky in their lineup just because Seattle has a good schedule. They had the Tuesday, Thursday games this week, but obviously they weren't converting as well as they did last year in their first game.
No.
So, yeah, a surprise. And then Brant Clark, a lot of people sleeper of the year. He actually got sent down to the minors. So that makes total sense why he's being dropped all over the place. But do you have any interest in any of these guys? I think Burakovsky still has some value. I don't know that I have him in a couple spots just as a streamer, and I'll probably keep him until after Thursday. But after that, I'll probably be looking for someone else with a better schedule. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I'm not mad at any of these guys being dropped. Burakovsky is the only one that I would probably like toe the line and want to see a little bit more from Seattle.
Yeah.
But Lucas Reichel, really only place to go is up, and I don't see that happening with what's going on their top line. Tanner Jeannot, with the schedule for Tampa Bay throughout the year, them not playing on a ton of off nights, unless you're in a heavy banger format, he doesn't really give you enough, and really probably not going to crack your roster based on the way the schedule breaking out. Carlson that's a good team, but I don't care, honestly. Like you could take it or leave it, and Brant Clark going to the minors is a gimme drop. So I don't have a problem with any of these top 5 drops at all.
I'm being told in the chat that the Leafs have surrendered their 3-2 lead, and it's now 4-3 Montreal. So
You were
not a big
in the
fan of
middle
that.
of talking, and I glanced up at the goal celebration running down the line. So I was like, "Oh,
Classic.
he'll see."
The only
it.
surprise there
I
is
don't
that it
have to
wasn't
say it.
Josh Anderson that scored. That's the only surprise. All right. Well, now I'm in a bad mood. But
Nice.
anyways, so we're just gonna each pick an ad and a drop for this week that we're excited about. So my ad of the week is Nick Paul. So I 100% support the massive uh, uptick in ads on Yahoo for Nick Paul. I think he may even be a stream and hold.
Yeah.
He's only 11% rostered despite the overwhelming number of ads that's after all of these ads. And man, there's no reason for him to come off a power play one. That is such a great situation to be in. I really like him in front of the net on the power play. He's a big body. He's got good hands. He's got a bit of a scoring touch. It just seems like a match made in heaven there. So he can stand in front of the net, screen the goalie, and then Stammer, Kucherov, Point, and Hedman or Sergachev. Last night it was Hedman. They can just swing the puck around as like they can. And he can bang in the rebounds. I love this position for Nick Paul. I expect more of the same. So I'm definitely streaming and holding wherever I can.
I completely agree with that. He looked fantastic last night, and the way that he was getting deployed gives me a lot of confidence. He's going to get the burn with the top players on the team, and then where he's slotted into the lineup, a bunch of the newcomers, the youth movement coming through Tampa, they had a lot of turnover for their second and third tier players. And he is the player that has been there for them. Right. So he's going to get a lot of deferment when it's really just kind of him and the also rans on the ice. I really like it. It kind of feels reactionary because of how successful he was last night, but I don't really say that based on the stat output, more so based on the way he was deployed, and how I project that going forward. And that he was excellent. I'm all about it. I think it's a great ad. My addition for this week is John Klingberg. Honestly, he can't even be an ad for me because I was drafting him in so many places, but 49% rostered. He is the second pairing defenseman right now. And worth noting, I'm sure you saw this, Brody got beaten badly for that first goal. Like that was ugly.
That was
So
awful.
that was really, really ugly. So
Yeah.
that gives me a little bit more confidence. But the reason that I really care is I feel like he is just a friggin' lock for power play one for the Leafs this far.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that and their success thus far this game. I've only been watching it in spurts, so I'm honestly not sure that they've even gone on the power play. But how has that gone thus far? Do you know?
Good. Two of their goals are power play goals. Matthews and Nylander both had a power play goal. They looked pretty strong. Klingberg was there. I think he got an assist on at least one of them. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, I mean,
I mean, I
I
feel like it's a
totally support
points
a Klingberg
factory.
ad.
Like
Yeah,
if
100%.
he can stick the power play one, I feel like 40 points for him is a floor, and there's a solid
Yes.
chance that he goes above 50. Like I
Yeah,
really
50,
really
maybe
like
even
it.
60. That wouldn't surprise me at all if he
Whew.
sticks on power play 1 the entire year.
So for that to be a first week ad for 51 of the percent of the people out there, like I feel like that's phenomenal opportunity. Like I really like Byram, but we're not talking about power play one unless there's injuries, and Klingberg is
Yeah.
right up there in a top 3 power play. Like that's an auto ad for me, and I don't even have to do it because I was swinging on him at the end of drafts. But if you haven't, you got to go get this dude.
All right, my drop right now is Anders Lee. So the Islanders have a pretty tough schedule to start off the season. They have just one game this week on the Saturday, that heavy Saturday. And Anders Lee has been relegated to the lowest point of the lineup that I think I've seen him play in. Right now, in practice, he's been playing on line 3 with Pajot and Hudson Fashing, and he's also been relegated to power play 2, which I haven't seen in a long time. They decided to go with Kyle Palmieri instead of him on the top power play. So, not really liking that for Anders Lee at all. I think he's kind of a fringe roster player, but a guy that a lot of people drafted near the end of their drafts. But I think it's pretty safe to drop him, and at least until his deployment is better on Long Island, and until they have a better schedule. What do you think, Binksy?
I am so disappointed. I drafted Anders Lee in droves thinking I was getting like immense wing value for him, and that clearly is not the case. Now, I think it's fine for you to drop him and come back to it later if those deployment issues change, and I think they certainly could based on the track record that we've had with Lee on the island. But yeah, right now that's really rough. Like I'm having to drop him myself, and that schedule is just horrendous right now. So I'm absolutely fine with that drop for sure.
All right,
Fortunately,
who's your
for
drop?
me, my drop is any Dallas star who won't be a lineup lock for you. Duchenne, Johnston, Ben, Sagan. I don't really think we need to go down the list further than that, but if there's someone, go ahead and drop them. And that hurts because I believe in the season long prospects for these players, especially if you're in a format that leans you into Ben. But the schedule for them to open for the second year in a row is just atrocious. They have one game this week on a loaded Thursday. They have 3 games next week, all on heavy nights, and then 2 games the following week against Pittsburgh and Toronto, only one of which is on an off night, right? So in their 6 games to open the season, they're across 3 weeks, and all but one of them are on heavy slates. Like, it's incredibly unlikely to me that you're going to be able to start any of these guys, right? So cut bait now. Let somebody else figure out when they get him off the wire, like, oh yay, that they're not going to be able to play this player and burn an ad on him. As disappointing it is as a Stars fan to say this, they're just not going to help you. Like it's extremely unlikely that these dudes are going to crack your starting lineup. So you got to move on right now until like a month from now, basically. Like come back to it in 3 weeks and add them on a Sunday with one of your leftover ads and get them back. But right now, unfortunately, it's just not going to do you any good.
Yeah, it's crazy. In my couple division, Matt Duchene has been on the waiver wire. He didn't get drafted, and I can't justify picking him up because there's just not enough games being played for Dallas right now, and the games that are being played, like you said, are on heavy nights. So, yeah, I mean, I don't foresee myself picking him up. That's in a deep league where players like that are typically on rosters, but it just I just can't justify it right now. All right. Let's move on to From Zero to Hero. This is our Zero G segment where we talk about some potential pickups on the Zero G market. And we'll also we're also going to play a little game, a little weekly game to get some I mean we're gonna put a little wager down on a little contest that we're gonna do season long. We haven't figured out exactly what, But we'll talk about that in a minute. But to start, who are the most added and most dropped goaltenders of the week right now?
Weak in quotes, right?
Yeah.
Most added Jack Campbell, pretty expected, given that he was announced as the starter tonight, rostered at 46%. The most dropped, also pretty expected, Pyotr Kochetkov at 39%, who is, as an interesting note, in Syracuse playing for Tampa's minor team because
Mm-hmm.
Carolina does not have one. For those of you in the dark about how that process works, he is still beholden to Carolina. They're just giving him an opportunity to play, and I imagine that's symbiotic, given that they've had to make some roster moves at goalie in Tampa. So those most added and most dropped, it's a little bit cut and dry right now. I imagine that segment will change a little bit for us going forward, but. I want to switch one of our formats and go right into tandem trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Jack Campbell, Soup is your opening night starter. He's rostered 46%, Skinner 88%. Do you see a true 50-50 incoming? Or is this like based on schedule for you, or do you just you think the money talks and they're going to try Campbell until it doesn't work? Like what's your read on the tandem in Edmonton?
I think it's probably a tandem, but I think the 1A position is up for grabs. I think Stuart Skinner. I don't think that they're just going to ride with Jack Campbell. First of all, he had a really great preseason. He looked pretty decent in the playoffs after a just absolutely terrible regular season. And Skinner struggled a bit. He struggled in the playoffs, and he's struggled a little bit in the preseason. And quite frankly, Campbell's just been better. So, not really surprised myself that he's the opening night starter, but I think a lot of people that were drafting Stuart Skinner are going to be pretty rattled right now and scrambling a little bit. But I would preach patience to you. I think it's still pretty much up for grabs. But in terms of Skinner being a volume starter, that's just not really in the cards this year unless Campbell, I mean, does what he did last year. But I know the guys at Fantasy Hockey Hacks were who are big Oilers fans were talking about this. They expected Jack Campbell to get the start in the beginning just because of the way that he had played in the preseason. So yeah, obviously he's a great guy. They want to give him a shot. And like you said, money talks. He's getting paid more than Skinner right now. So I mean, you kind of gotta make it work. And I mean, I hope for the best for Jack Campbell. But yeah, if he's on your waiver wire, I would be snapping him up right now for a few extra starts.
So it's interesting to note though, he's your game one starter, Soup, but their game two against the same opponent in the Canucks, and that one's at home, right? So
Sure.
like, yeah, like all the points you made are true, but I think it might be an interesting subtext that Skinner is going to be your home opener starter rather than your game one starter. So maybe it's not as scary as you might think Skinner rosters.
Maybe, but is it a back to back? That's my next question. Or is it
It
Saturday?
no, it is a 2 day rest and then on Saturday. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So my
just
thought
two
is,
games for them this week.
yeah, my thought is, I think it's a big deal that Campbell is getting the opening day start.
Okay.
I think that's huge. I think that means something.
All right.
But
I wouldn't
I
be mad
mean,
at you. I think no matter what happens, to be able to get attendee with a solid amount of start on the Oilers is going to be a good move, no matter what.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So the next segment in our zero to hero section, the biggest steamer. Now we've only got one night to go on, and there were a lot of goals thrown around, but even in those high scoring games, those goalies looked pretty good, with exception to Grubauer. That stat line was rough in the opener, got scored on by his own teammate. Are you scared away? Are you running away
So
from this?
that's the key right there. Is I watched the highlights. I didn't see the whole game. I saw bits and pieces, but I watched the highlights again just to see what the goals were like because I was really curious. I'm just like, oh man, Groovy,
Hmm.
don't do this to me again. But I'm not concerned. I don't think he really had a shot on any of those goals. I mean, the one that like Tanev, I don't know what the fuck he was doing there, but I guess like Marchessault had his stick out and he kind of popped it, deflected it a little bit into the net, but like Grubauer had like, I mean, what are you gonna do on
He's
that?
standing straight
Like,
up.
I
Yeah,
I don't
it
think he had
wasn't.
like he had no idea what was going on there, and like that it was just a freak play. I think the first goal was a 2-on-1 where Stevenson crashed the net, so I don't really think he really had a shot on that one. The only one that I think maybe he could have had was the Barbashev goal where it was kind of one-on-one. It was like a partial breakaway. He fell down and kind of roofed it top corner over his shoulder. I think he went down a little bit early on that. So I mean, maybe there's a concern there, but like I'm not incredibly concerned about Grubauer. Like I thought other than that, he looked fine. So I mean, really, I don't think we're talking about it too much if Seattle scores a little bit more. Um
Yeah.
I think that it seemed like they actually outplayed Vegas maybe just slightly. But they just couldn't solve Aiden Hill. Aiden Hill looked great last night. So I'm
Yeah.
still holding
Yeah.
on to your boy Aiden Hill. I think that they yeah, I'm definitely waiting on Grubauer. I think he'll be okay.
Same. Same.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. Barbashev was the only one that was actually like an earned goal to me, and I actually did. I saw that sequence live, and like he broke away and then like dipped to the left and then scored over the right shoulder. Like it was a
Mhm.
very difficult goal, and myself and the announcers included didn't see it coming. Like
Yeah.
it was a shot that really like should have gone high wide, and he just managed to score. So I love it for Barbashev. I don't think it's something you can expect to continue. So yeah, it was a rough night for groups, but I'm still holding. What do
Yeah.
we have next?
100%. All right. So let's talk about our zero to hero picks. So this is our little contest. So what we're gonna do each week is we're each going to pick a zero G candidate that we believe in for the next week between midweek episodes. So from Thursday to next Tuesday, whoever's pick has the most cacupful points will take the week, and then each week we'll tally up who wins each week, and then at the end of the season we'll have some sort of wager. I don't know. Do you have any ideas for a wager, Binksy? What do you think? Should we do another hat bet? Should we do something else?
Mm, I don't know. The first thing that pops into my head is that we have to buy a Patreon subscription for a listener, maybe a jersey.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I don't know. Like it's year long. It's not an off the cuff like hot take bet. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Give us your suggestions, listeners. Let us know what you think the zero to hero prize should be. Maybe like maybe a mini goalie mask. I don't know. Let's brainstorm it. We need some help. We need some
All
help.
right.
Let us know what you think.
Sounds good. I like that. So we'll throw it out. We'll throw it out to the Discord. We'll throw it out to the chat right now. If we see any good ideas, we'll throw them up on the screen. But so what we're gonna do is, because there are going to be weeks where there is definitely one guy that's like the clear cut zero G guy, and the must pick. So in order to have for fairness, we'll alternate who picks first each week. So to start, Binksy, you're gonna pick first this week. I'll pick first next week, and then we'll keep going like that. So Binksy, who is your zero to hero pick of the week?
My zero to hero pick of the week is Antiranta. Um, Carolina has a back to back Saturday and Sunday, beginning their West Coast swing. They're going to go against LA and Anaheim. And then they continue that West Coast trip next week. They got 3 games: San Jose, Seattle, and Colorado. Kochetkov, of course, moved to Syracuse. Freddie is Mr. Glass. So I feel like it's all upside. I think that in these 5 games, it wouldn't shock me if he got 3 starts based on them being all on the road. He's guaranteed to get 2 of these. And against offensively talented teams, I feel like the save count is going to be a bit higher than you might expect for it being Carolina. They, of course, one of the historically low save teams across the league, but there's going to be a little bit of flux given that they brought in so many new defensive players. Like, it's going to take a little bit of time to gel. I feel like right now is the opportunity to get in on Renta, and I like the prospects based on the teams that he is likely to play against. It's probably going to be an Anaheim, a San Jose, or a Seattle that he's going to be playing in these games against. And I like the prospects for wins. I like the prospects for him to get a little bit more saves than normal. And of course, the injury concerns for Freddie are always there. So you never know what could happen with Freddie. It could be friggin' 5 starts for Renta. So I like it. I think it's a good betting odds.
I should also say that the goalies that we pick have to be sub 50% rostered. So that's the other bit. Obviously Ranta is, but I just wanted to say that for the audience here. So my pick, I like Ranta as a pick for sure, but for me, I think the pick is easy. It's Elvis Merzlikins. So Merzlikins, I believe, is 14% rostered. Really not rostered much at all. Not super surprising because he had just a god awful year last year. Columbus is a completely different team. They've shored up their defense. They are healthy. They have a bunch of you guys with a little bit more experience. You've got Adam Fantilli, one of the top rookies in this rookie class. Got a healthy Patrick Laine, a healthy Johnny Gaudreau, healthy Boone Jenner, blocking shots left and right. Might lead the league in forward block shots this year. We'll see. But I really like Columbus this year. And looking at their schedule over the next week, I think in terms of the guys that are out there for 0G candidates, so sub 50% rostered, I think he's going to get the most starts. So he is a volume starter. Their backup right now is Spencer Martin. So I don't anticipate him getting a ton of playing time here. So they have 3 games between Thursday and Tuesday. They are 0 back-to-backs. They also play Philly and Detroit in 2 of those games, so weaker opponents, and then the New York Rangers as well. I mean, they're a little bit stronger, but I still really like the prospect of Elvis Merzlikins having a good week. I think he's going to get the most volume, and I just think that Columbus is going to be better. So I'm jacked. I'm jacked. Someone said Matthews just scored. It is 5-4 Montreal.
Nice.
With 3 minutes left. But
And they're only leading by 15 shots. So, I mean,
thanks, Kyle.
Yeah,
Thanks, Kyle, for
makes
keeping me
sense.
updated. Michael, all these guys in the chat. Nate was in there too for a little bit.
Empty net with 3 minutes left. You got to believe.
Yeah, empty net with 3
You
minutes
gotta
left.
believe.
I think the Matthews goal was with an empty net. So all right. So just to close out the
delay.
Yeah, it could be. Oh, it's icing. Okay. Sorry, I'm distracted. I gotta keep going here. So all right. So final picks. You have Antti Ranta. I have Elvis Merzlikins. We'll see how we do next week. Let's move on to Hockey Hotline. That is our mailbag segment. It is my personal favorite part of the midweek show from years prior. And we're bringing it back, baby, because it's just best. It is the fucking best. Now,
we'll do it live.
We'll do it live. All right. We're doing it live. All right. Okay. So just a note, Zebra Dan back in the chat asking questions about our listener league too. I think I don't want to talk too much about a league that lots of other people aren't in. So I didn't pull that question. We're also trying to keep these shows a little bit shorter just because we're spitting out so much content these days. So so I didn't put that question in. There was also someone in the chat that said, "What do I do with Nikolai Ehlers?" I think that's a joke about Blake talking about how that he was asked that question every single week on Fantasy NHL Today. So
It's true.
that I think that was a joke. So I didn't add that one in either.
No,
But
I think that was tongue in cheek.
I think so. I think so. So our first question is from surprise, the Mark Skinner, our faithful question asker. He has been since the beginning of the midweek show. So Mark Skinner is here, and he says better goalie to own, counting wins, losses, saves, goals against, shutouts. Johansson, Hart, Merzlikins. Thanks, fellas. Looking forward to the pod. What do you think, Binksy?
Well, wins, losses, saves, goals against, and shutouts. I feel like you're ditching shutouts with Hart and Merzlikins, so that's one for Johansson. Goals against is probably the loser to Hart, so I'm going to give a half point to Johansson and Merzlikins there. Saves probably going to go to Hart or Merzlikins. Losses, that's Johansson. Wins. I feel like that's a split between Johansson and Merzlikins. So my gut says Johansson because I just don't believe in Elvis. Like you're just not going to convince me that this is a goalie that I should roster. I'm really going to have to see things like turn into like pure upside for Columbus to really care about that. So better goalie to own for me. 1A Johansson, 1B Merzlikins, Hart at the bottom of the list given these categories. What do you think?
I think I'm going Merzlikins for the same reasons that I spoke of before. I just think that Columbus is going to be better. I think Merzlikins has been good. I think Johansson is just too much of a wild card, man. So
okay.
I have a hard time picking him at all just because we don't know what he is. Like, he was totally fine. He was good in the preseason, but again, like we mentioned, doesn't really mean shit. And I felt like he looked pretty solid. Someone just said Toronto tied it up. And my TV must be on a delay because it has not happened yet.
See, I thought I was watching it live. Matthews just scored with an empty net for me, but that was to tie the game. So I'm a little confused. But I'm watching it on ESPN, so there shouldn't be a delay.
So does Matthews have a hat trick?
That was a hat trick. Yeah.
That's a pretty good start. Not bad, Austin. Okay, sorry. Completely distracted. All right. So Merzlikins,
this is what happens
Merzlikins is my pick there, Mark. I'm sorry. Sorry. This is what I get for doing a show during a Leafs game. I have the TV right beside me too. I didn't used to have this. This is a new thing
Mine's
for me.
Right here. If you see me doing this is what I okay.
Yeah, I maybe shouldn't do that next time. But okay, so Merzlikins. I just think Columbus is going to be better. I think Merzlikins that season last year was kind of out of nowhere. We have not seen him be that poor. Like I don't believe that he had a save percentage season below 900, and actually it might maybe even higher than that. And last year he was like 880 something. I can't remember what the statistic was there, but he
I mean they're a lot better defensively for sure.
Yeah,
like
for sure. So
I understand the points and the reasons to believe. I can't do it. I won't do it.
Yeah, fair. All right. Next question. We've got one from Wick. Is it John Wick? Like, do I want to answer this question? Because if I'm wrong, are you going to come after me and find me and kill me?
You're an animal lover. It'll be fine.
All right. I didn't kill his dog, so it should be okay. All right. What's the deal with Sean Couturier, and why is no one talking about him? Sure, he hasn't played in nearly 2 years, so there's that. But could he be a top streamer to holder by the end of the season? Absolutely. The upside there is great, especially if he's on your waiver wire right now. Philly doesn't have the most fantastic schedule out of the gate, but I mean, I think he's a guy that if he's available, I would definitely be um, putting him on my watch list. I mean, he's going to get primo deployment. I think he's going to get power play one, penalty kill. I'm just pretty I feel pretty good about Couturier at the value that you're getting him, the value that he was going in drafts, and the value that he's potentially going to bring you after. Yeah, I just I'm feeling good about Couturier. What do you think, buddy?
I think the actual player has all of the talent to do it, but I mean, 2 years is a long time. He's also coming into a new coach, right? So who knows what you're going to get in that situation. I think it's kind of more important to me.
Oh, we lost Binksy. Uh-oh. All right, let's keep going. So I'm gonna go to the next question here. Pilster. Does the fact that Tampa made no moves to acquire a goalie mean Vasilevsky will be back sooner rather than later? Does it mean they trust Johansson, or maybe there was nobody available? So, I mean, I'm pretty. I mean, I definitely expected them to pick somebody up. Um, I imagine they were probably waiting for someone on waivers, but they only have so much cap space there. All right, Binksy's back here. Hey, buddy.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know what happened there. That was weird, but we'll roll with it. So I moved on to the next question. So
Okay.
uh, it's Jonas Johansson. The Pilster asked, does the fact that Tampa made no moves to acquire a goalie mean Vasilevsky will be back sooner rather than later? Does it mean they trust Johansson, or maybe there was no one available? I mean, you look at the names that were available, and it's like Martin Jones, who is notably just a bad goaltender. Um, and then yeah, there just weren't a ton of names that I think were necessarily an improvement. I think maybe they believe in Johansson. I think he had a good preseason. He looked, I mean, serviceable yesterday against Nashville, and I just think that yeah, I'm
It's a
pretty.
it's a three-pronged answer for me. One, they have really limited cap room, right? Like there was not much there for them to work with. So that's one side of it. They have had Vasilevsky for years. They're going to have him for years. So this is an opportunity to see what they have in weight, right? So them choosing to take a shot on Johansson just to see what they have there makes a lot of sense to me. And the third prong, he got hurt at like the absolute worst time for them to go out and find a replacement. If he got hurt a
Yeah,
month ago, they would have been able to make a deal for somebody that was in a situation like, I'm just spitballing, but they could have gone and gotten Ranta, right? Like there would have been an opportunity for them to go and negotiate and find a player that was serviceable to them, but they smashed right up against the roster deadline and nobody was coming through waivers that was going to make a difference for them and nobody was really sitting out in free agency for them to go and get, right? Nobody that was going to be like noticeably different than what they possibly could have had in Johansson. Now, does it mean that Vasilevsky will be back sooner rather than later? Pardon the pun. I don't think so. I don't think that that
no,
has anything to do with it. I don't think anybody's alluded to that. There haven't been any whispers of that. And given that it's a back injury, that's something that's really serious for a goaltender. So I doubt it. Now, you know, like Elliot on a recent 32 Thoughts podcast was like, that dude's a machine. Like he could be coming back way earlier than we expect. So maybe, I mean, it's a total question mark. I can't even begin to speculate on that, but no, I think it had a lot more to do with cap and roster and who they have kind of behind Vasilevsky. But it wouldn't shock me if that was a factor for them and they just didn't tell anyone about that. Like it wouldn't surprise me, but I doubt it.
yeah, I 100% agree with that. I also think they have no assets. either
Nothing.
to trade
Yeah.
for a goalie. So
No.
no assets, no cap
That was
space.
something for me as well.
And
Yeah.
then you're trading for a stopgap for 2 months. And so it's
Right.
like, do you want to sacrifice the depth on your team for, I mean, a guy that you're going to use for 2 months and then just use Vasilevsky the rest of the season anyways? I don't
Right.
think so.
And
So
they're
so
a strong enough team to weather that storm, you know.
yeah,
Like,
I think so.
yeah.
I think so. And they showed that yesterday, at least at times. I mean, the
Yeah.
middle of the game was a little dicey, but they they looked really strong at times in that game. Really rested. I know we both said that on Twitter, but yeah, they do look like they've had more time off than they've had in a while. That's
We
for
said
sure.
it on Twitter and then they said it on the intermission broadcast, like verbatim. I was like,
There you
oh,
go. Th- There
there
you
you go.
go. I guess we're smart.
No,
McLeal, I think Maclale.
McLaughlin.
Maclale. Is there reason to be concerned with Timo Meyer's preseason? Or sorry, is there reason to be concerned with Timo Meyer preseason? Looks like he's off power play 1 and second line. So I'm not concerned about Timo Meyer. In terms of the power play situation, well, I mean, it's kind of the same for both line 1 and power play 1. New Jersey has split up their power plays pretty evenly. They're I was just looking at game day tweets and then I closed it out, but I think that both units are fairly interchangeable just because of how much talent New Jersey has at the top of their lineup. So the power play units as it stands, at least earlier today, was Meyer, Heischer, Mercer, Holtz, and Hamilton. And then the other unit, I guess not a second unit, Toffoli, Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Andre Palat, and Luke Hughes. And then their top 6 is Meyer, Heischer, Mercer, and then Toffoli, Hughes, Bratt. I'm not concerned about Timo Meyer. In fact, I almost think that him playing with Heischer and Mercer is a better fit for him just because he's a guy that commands the puck. He's a guy that is a high volume shooter. Whereas if he's playing with Jack Hughes, he's kind of a similar player in that way. Obviously not the same physically as Timo Meyer, but they both command the puck and they both command to shoot it. So
Yeah.
I think separating those two is probably it's probably even better for Meyer's production. So I'm not concerned about him at all.
No, I honestly, my concern throughout the entire offseason and in drafting season was that Meyer was going to get to play with Hughes and was going to lose counting stats in that regard, right? So I'm actually like that's an uptick for me because I had him
Yeah.
like slotted down a little bit because of that. So I think you're absolutely on the money with that assertion. Like again, toss the preseason out the window. But as things go forward for the season, I think your prospectus there is right on the money, and I see it as a bonus.
All right, our last question is from Matt D. Mattde.
Well done.
Let us know how we're supposed to say that. I have no clue. Should we be patient with Andrew Mangiapane? That's Nate's boy. Going from line 1 power play 1 to line 3 power play 2 seems like quite a drastic change. I'm gonna throw to you, Binksy. What do you think about that?
Well, I just like Nate really saw Mangiapane as a late round sleeper, and given the dual wing eligibility, I'm going to be way more hesitant to dump him. Um, Given that this is a possible line 1 power play 1 player for a team that should be way better offensively. Yeah, I mean, you know, looking at that change, that is pretty drastic, but you know, we're also talking about a power play player to watch with Matt Coronado, right? Like there's no history there. Like while I'm very excited to be able to get Coronado for nothing and see where that goes, I also am fully cognizant of the fact that Mangiapane has history with these players. He has successful track record. He's got dual wing eligibility, and there are no guarantees with Coronado, like at all, right?
Yeah.
So, we could see a cold streak happen immediately and see that completely dissipate. So, should you be patient? Yes. Is he like an auto hold? I don't think so. Like you've got maneuverability there. Like use it as a streaming spot, and if things look better, go back to him. Like I don't think you have to hold on to him, but I wouldn't be concerned about it. Like I feel fine with keeping him. I would be fine with you dropping him and using it as a streaming option.
Yeah, I mean for the draft capital you probably had to get up to or give up to get Mangiapane. I mean it's not huge. Like he's probably almost a streamer level guy anyways. So I feel like I'd hold on to him for this next little bit just because Calgary has such a good schedule. If you wanted to swap him out for Coronado, I wouldn't blame you just because his lineup situation is a little bit better. But like you said, I mean, it's the start of the season. Things change. Maybe power play one isn't clicking the way that they would hope with Coronado there, or with anyone else. Like maybe Mangiapane replaces Kadri or someone like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like there's still potential, but yeah, no, I don't like him playing with Coleman and Backlund. Like that's not the best situation for Mangiapane in terms of offense. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
I
I
there
get that.
are some concerns there, but I just because of Calgary's schedule, I would probably hang on for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, 4 games next week is going to be really nice. Either player that you're rostering there, I'm totally fine with it. Doesn't not too concerned.
All right, that's all we have for today for our inaugural episode of Rolling Lines. Please leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you to those who already have. We really love it. It's helped us a lot with our audience growth. Also, if you like our content, check out the Apples and Genos Patreon to support us on a monthly basis. Hop into the Apples and Genos Discord server as well. We're having lots of discussions about fantasy hockey in there. Shoutouts to the band there for providing our music. Their Spotify link is in the episode description. Follow us on X. Binksy is at Binklemania. Nate is at Apples Genos. Blake is at Blake Creamer AG. I'm at Just Josh and 41. Please practice safe stats and happy streaming. Have a good one, folks.
Good night, world.